Well guys, guess what? The Nintendo Direct did not happen, like we all pretty much thought. If you've been tuning in this last couple of weeks, we've been talking about this rumor from Nash Weedle. He's been very hit or miss over the years, but recently been pretty good. I mean, he even called a 3D Donkey Kong to be one of the first games to come out for Switch 2 instead of a 3D Mario, which literally nobody was really saying. But the reason we've been covering him is because he had this to say that's been translated by Attack the Backlog.
Again, we're hearing Monolith Soft game, Mario 3D out this year. That's Nintendo's big game, is what Nash is hearing. And he's hearing from a couple of sources, third week of February, but he's also hearing from a few other sources, March.
Now, about a week later, Nash doubled down on this, where Attack the Backlog gave a description of what Nash was predicting and what he's heard from his sources, hearing once again about that Monolith Soft project and 3D Mario. Both games will appear in a Nintendo Direct General. He says the source telling Nash about Mario is the same source who told him about Donkey Kong Bonanza. This source, however, has not given a date for the Direct, but just simply said that Mario was going to be there at that next Direct. He even said one of his sources that were saying March was now saying earlier, so he was feeling very confident about the third week of February. But guess what? Now, as soon as I heard this, I immediately said this thing is not happening in February. Nothing about this felt right, and you can even go back and watch my past videos where I was talking about this rumor and said I am not betting any amount of money that this is happening in February. When Nintendo has partner directs, they always outright replace general directs. There has not ever been a single month where Nintendo had a partner showcase and a general direct in the same month. That just does not happen. So immediately I said to myself, this thing is going to be in March. Nash should have just kept it at what he said originally, but he kept hosting podcasts where he would hype people up saying that he's hearing even more evidence and believes that it's going to be the third week of February, which just didn't happen. And the problem is now you've created this distrust in a lot of people, because anyone could come out and say, hey, I've heard that there's going to be a direct in either March or April. That's giving way too vague of information where of course you're probably going to be right. Which begs the question, do I believe that there's actually going to be a 3D Mario reveal soon? I don't believe anything until I hear it from Nintendo or Nate the Hate, because also Nate the Hate was saying from the very beginning he hasn't heard of anything else for this month right now. Now I will say it did pique my interest a little bit this morning when Nintendo announced the Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, Switch 2 Edition. This is probably for an entire video in and of itself, but daggone it, Nintendo, these Switch 2 editions, man, this is just really making me feel like the Switch 2 is just straight up the Switch Pro at this point. Yeah, I was really hoping it would be Xenoblade Chronicles 2, because I'm getting ready to play that game this year, so having a Switch 2 edition ready to go with that game would have made a lot of sense to me, but nope, it's like a Switch 2 edition of a remaster of a Wii U game. Yeah, but there's so much conflicting info with all this. Like, this is a Monolith Soft project, but is this not the one he was talking about? Because he said both games would appear in a Nintendo Direct. Is 3D Mario still actually going to happen then, since we just got that Xenoblade announcement? But then you see stuff like this. This did not happen. I think the lesson that we can all learn here is just like not listen to supposed leakers, or at least not right now. I mean, there's just not enough credible leakers out there to even listen to outside of, like I said, Nate the Hate, and that's about it. And I think we should just sit and wait for Nintendo to say something at this point. I know, who am I to tell? I think the reason so many content creators are talking about Nintendo Directs right now is because it's like the only thing the community cares about. I mean, everyone online is so desperate for some big information on upcoming games because the lineup that we have right now just isn't doing it for a lot of us. Outside of Tomodachi Life, many people don't really care about anything that's in this lineup. Pokemon Pokopia is pretty much an Animal Crossing Tomodachi Life cross hybrid, so it's kind of like the same stuff, even though we also got an Animal Crossing Switch 2 edition of New Horizons earlier this year. It's just so many life sims. And what does that leave us with? Another Switch 2 edition. Now, with this being yet again another year on Nintendo skipping a February Nintendo Direct, this is actually kind of scaring me. If you guys remember back in the day, before the Nintendo Switch 1, Nintendo used to have January Directs every year. They were Directs to start the year off and to give us immediate excitement for what to expect, at least in the first 6 months of the year. You know, they didn't have us waiting and guessing and twirling our fingers trying to decide what Nintendo's going to do. They actually just told us right away and got us extremely excited as soon as we jumped into the new year. But with Nintendo Switch 1, this changed. January was now pretty much empty until February rolled around, which would normally give us a direct within the first 2 weeks of February. Not normally, I'd say pretty much every single year this happened. This would give Nintendo a really good slate to work with, having a direct earlier in the year in February, then having a big one around E3 time, and E3 was a big mess, so they decided just to do whatever they wanted to do in June or July, and then they would have a big direct to end the year year in September. So you would have 3 major presentations to get us excited and to give us information throughout the year. Well, we went from January Directs, then moving to February Directs, and now for the second year in a row, it seems like we're skipping even the February Directs now. Now the question is, what does that even mean now? When do we normally get Directs? Is it going to be pushed back to March now? Why would Nintendo want to spread it out that way? And this isn't even guaranteed. Remember, now this is just going off of what they did last year. Last year they had a general Nintendo Direct in March for the Switch 1 specifically, and then they had a Switch 2 specific Direct in April. And that March general Direct was just mere days before the Switch 2 one in April. The March Direct was on March 27th, and that Switch 2 one was on April 2nd. And it's funny because Nintendo like jam-packed tons of Directs like month after month after month there. They had a general in March, the Switch 2 one in April, another one like a week later for Mario Kart World in April, and even June had one for Donkey Kong Bonanza, and it pretty much just keeps on going for the rest of the year with, you know, game-specific Directs like Sakurai Presents and even another general in September. But the question is Nintendo actually going to have a general Direct in March, or are we going to have to wait until April? I've seen some people bringing up the idea that we're only going to have like 2 major Nintendo Directs a year now instead of 3. There's going to be one big one in around April or May, and then another big one around September. So beginning of the year, end of the year. Now, I've also had some people tell me that this for sure means we're going to get bigger Directs then. You know, if they only do 2 Directs a year, that means these Nintendo Directs are going to be more ambitious and have bigger and better announcements. I haven't seen that yet. In fact, the Switch 2 Directs have been my least favorite Directs in the entire history of Nintendo Directs so far, and I'm not even joking. Trust me, I've been ripped apart multiple times for my Switch 2 Nintendo Direct reaction video, and I get it, I'm in the minority with that one. But personally, I just was not a big fan of what we saw. I was expecting something on the lines of the Switch 1 presentation, a new 3D Mario, maybe even new Splatoon information, new Mario Kart, and, you know, tons of big titles that we've been waiting for so long, and ultimately, the show kind of boiled down, at least to me, with just Mario Kart and Donkey Kong. Everything else was Switch 2 Edition here, Switch 2 Edition there, small game like Welcome Tour and Drag and Drive, and just tons of third-party announcements. There really wasn't too much, at least for me, and then for what I was expecting for the launch of a brand new console. And I think what hurt this show for me even more is, for one, like Mario Kart World came out and it was just eh. For 2, the Switch 2 wasn't anything really revolutionary to us. I mean, yes, it was pretty much what we've all wanted, but it's been leaked absolutely to hell and back. I mean, genuinely, this entire console was leaked. Every minute detail, even the C button for communication was leaked months, almost a year before this thing was even shown off. So we were just sitting there watching, yep, this is exactly what we've been seeing for years now. But yeah, I mean, it's more the leakers' fault, but also their fault for not revealing this thing earlier. But then fast forward to that September Direct, and oh my gosh, that was one of the worst Directs I think I've ever seen. I mean, genuinely thinking about what was announced, the only thing that I can really remember is some okay Mario Anniversary stuff, mostly just spin-offs like Tennis and 2D Yoshi, and just tons of old games like the Galaxy games for the 100th time. But yeah, I mean, I'm literally just scrolling through the last Direct and nothing is piquing my interest whatsoever. It was just bite-sized information on games that we already knew were coming out in like a month or two. Virtual Boy, for some reason, I don't know who really was excited about that. I mean, it's out now, and from what I heard, it's okay. They announced a $20 update for Donkey Kong Bonanza that includes an island that turns the game into a roguelike, which should have been there day one. It's like Mario Odyssey adding the Mushroom Kingdom as a $20 paid DLC. On the heels of a Pokemon spinoff with ZA, they announced a Pokemon spinoff with Pokopia. And then they end the show with a new Fire Emblem game coming out. So, yeah, this was pretty bad. I mean, honestly, and as somebody who just became a Fire Emblem fan, I'm actually pretty excited for this next Fire Emblem game, but daggone, this Direct was so lackluster. And if you're not a Fire Emblem fan, which a lot of people are, it's fine to not enjoy a sub-series of Nintendo games. Like, I don't know why people act like you're just the worst human being ever for not enjoying, like, JRPGs. Now, I recommend you try them, and if you try them and still don't like them, then okay, it's perfectly fine. But yeah, so that's your Direct, and so that tells me right now, I don't know what to expect from the next one. It could very well be another mixed bag experience. But do we even need a Nintendo Direct right now? I feel like that's something that we ask ourselves often, and honestly, yes. Yes, we do. Nintendo even came out themselves to start the year and said that year 2 and year 3 of the Switch 2 is going to be their most important years. They really want to push this thing, and I haven't seen a single reason as to why right now. It's just tons of Switch 2 editions, small little spin-offs, nothing super exciting. And for the few exciting things that are here, like Splatoon Raiders and Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, we don't know anything about those games, and they're apparently coming out soon, I would assume, like maybe this summer or even this fall. Why are we not hearing anything about these games? And even things like Rhythm Heaven Groove, the brand new Yoshi and the Mysterious Book 2D game, or even Dusk Bloods, like where's all of this information at? And all of those are games that we know about. We don't know anything about a big, huge first-party title for the holiday or anything like that. I mean, it's still early, but I'm assuming that Nintendo wants to get that information out and bring that hype in. Right now, I feel like most of the hype for the year is just the Mario Galaxy movie coming out in April. So Nintendo needs to start pushing some buttons or something. I don't know, but regardless, I don't like it. I am just personally not a fan of Nintendo Directs now being capped at potentially maybe 2 a year or being pushed back way past February now. I don't know. That gap from September's Direct to whenever the big Direct's going to be in the next year, whether it be March or April, maybe even May, that's going to hurt so much harder now knowing how long that gap is going to be. So that September Direct from now on has to be a banger. It can't be what it was last time. And also, we can't keep having Switch 2 editions. Please, Nintendo.